Welcome back to another episode of Modern Day Issues that we love to ignore. And we had the privilege of having Abba with us on our last episode, talking about bereavement as a teenager when he very, very sadly, tragically lost his brother. Now, 20 years on, Abba, you suffered another bereavement loss. Now, you were so brave in being able to open up as a young man what it was like for you, but of course 20 years on you're in a slightly different situation. How did you process the bereavement second time round with
Sure.
close family member?
So this and I'm sure lots of people can find in this particular story. I feel like I'm just covering depressing stories with you, but actually this is a learning curve for me as well, but also for the audiences as well.
Well, yeah, because people tend not to talk about bereavement, do they? It's something that people are awkward about and they don't like to discuss.
Yes.
And so people have to hold that grief inside themselves. And we talked about last time how lonely a place that is and how you can feel very alone because it's not something that we tend to talk about in our culture.
Sure.
So, no, thank you for opening up this subject.
No problem at all. So it goes back to, obviously, everyone remembers the pandemic, and very, very early on in the pandemic, April 2020, while this country in particular, I mean, most countries were in lockdown, my brother, my dad at the time, my brother called me up. He was living at home with my parents, and he said, "Dad's not very well. I think we're going to have to call the ambulance." And at that time I was living at home with my own kids, 15 minutes away from them. And so we agreed, we're going to call the ambulance. The ambulance came, took him away. And he had tests for COVID. So it was April 2020. Everyone was becoming ill. If you remember, and I don't want to go too much into the detail around the traumatic events for the country itself, but there was a time when in the news you had heard that doctors and nurses were going into isolation because they were working in wards, but also there was an oxygen shortage.
Right.
There was a ward shortage. There was so many patients going to hospital. So it was that critical time, and it only got worse over the next few months, obviously. Then, so not only, I was dealing with the fact that my dad went into hospital. At the same time, my professional career, the business that I worked at, they were trying to be resilient in terms of everyone working from home. It was an international business, so there was the pressure of that as a technology leader, making sure.
So you weren't one of those furloughed people.
No.
Neither was I. So
no. So
on the same page there.
Not only making sure that an entire organisation globally can work remotely. Also, that also heightens some of the cybersecurity risks around how a firm globally is working from home.
Yeah. And you describe yourself as a technologist. So what was your particular role?
So I was the IT director, essentially
IT
the CIO of the firm. So technology was my remit. And so making sure that everyone was successfully working from home, clients were being seen to, cybersecurity. Huge responsibility. So it was a very stressful time just as a whole. But of course, that went really smoothly and successfully. Great team. The business had a great central team that came together. And I find in most disasters, when you put a bunch of people in a disaster, they cope really well. It's how you prepare for the disaster is the more tricky bit. But actually dealing with a disaster, people are pretty good. So there was that going on at the same time. Then my dad got called into hospital, and I was messaging my mum. At the same time, got very ill as well. So they were both suspected of having COVID. It was very early on. They were testing my dad for COVID. They couldn't conclusively say he had COVID. But he was in hospital for 3.5 days, essentially. And the very first day he went there, he was messaging me saying, "I've not been seen to for 12 hours. And that was quite difficult to know. He was hungry in hospital. No one was seeing to him because it was so short-staffed at the hospital. And so the National Health Service was really in a bad situation because of what was going on.
And you weren't even allowed in to bring him food.
No. And, just him charging his phone was difficult enough in the hospital. You couldn't call the hospital wards because no one would answer because it was short staffed. And over the next 2 days, the same thing, you know, not much was happening. Eventually someone did call me and said, your dad's recovering well. There's, you know, he looks good, you know, he's eating, he's recovering well. At this point, my dad wasn't being in, you know, he wasn't getting in touch with me. He couldn't call my mum because my mum was in bed sick. My mum wanted to avoid hospital. So they both had COVID essentially. And but after 3 days, I got a phone call from the hospital, and it was a doctor, and they said, we're going to give your dad end of life treatment because he's not doing too well. And that was just so hard for me to hear. And I subsequently, a few hours later, I got another phone call from the hospital saying that he had passed away. It was, you know, it was a time at homeschooling as well. The kids were off school. The country was in lockdown. My mum was absolutely distressed with that news.
Of course.
She was probably more ill than my dad was. But she wanted to do everything to avoid going to hospital, understandably. And so my brother got ill as well. He was ill at home, and so they couldn't go out. My mum she didn't leave. You know, they've got a traditional 3-bedroom house, upstairs, downstairs. She was in bed for 8 weeks.
Oh my
and
goodness.
It was touch and go whether she was going to survive.
So who cooked her meals?
So in my mental state, just the trickiness of being at home itself was tricky enough. The pressure of my work environment was tricky enough. The mourning of my dad, which I couldn't mourn properly because I had to be strong and resilient. I had to stay strong for my immediate family, and I had to be the strong one. So I was somehow getting medication for my mum. I was cooking her home cooked meals.
Oh my goodness!
And then delivering it outside their doorstep and leaving it. And my brother was picking it up, and I tried to give her foods that could help her recover in my mind. And every few hours I'd be checking in with my brother. Is she okay? She hasn't passed away. You know, I was so worried. And so it was in an environment, a mindset where I had to be the most resilient I've ever been. Even more so than the death of my brother many years prior to that. So very, very difficult time. And then as the weeks went past, my mum continued to be really ill. And just the traumatic scenario around someone's death at that particular point was hard enough. So how do I deal with closing his bank accounts, my dad's bank accounts, for example? Who do I need to notify about his death? My mum couldn't do anything. She was the next of kin. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't do anything at the time. And then trying to arrange his funeral was one of the most difficult processes, because not only was the health service really affected during that time, but also you couldn't find anyone to run a funeral because there was lots of people dying, unfortunately. So finding people that could help you with a burial was difficult enough. Eventually I found someone. And at that time, there was a restriction on who can turn up to a funeral. So essentially, it was just me and my brother once he got a bit better during those 8 weeks where my mum was ill. It was just me and my brother burying my dad next to my older brother from years ago.
So I presume you weren't allowed in the hospital to say goodbye to him even after he passed, is it?
No.
Gosh, how tough.
It was just, I couldn't say goodbye to him. And what made it worse, I think the hospital lost his belongings. Lost his...
Sorry,
the phone's ringing. Okay.
It's HJS technology.
You need that to use my now?
But I also didn't do the timer, so I've no idea how.
Okay, we're on 9 minutes.
Oh, we've got loads of time then.
Okay.
I will put my hand up here.
Oh, okay, fine,
Okay. So where were we?
Where were we?
So what made it even more upsetting was the hospital lost his belongings, lost the trousers that he went in to hospital with all his bank cards and his ID. And so for many months, I was trying to recover that, and they couldn't find it again. And essentially, I think the next few months was just difficulty. My mum didn't fully recover from COVID. She became a lot more immobile in terms of her movement. And so she lost the sense of smell and taste and stuff like that, the normal symptoms that you had back then. But then how did I recover? It was many months of just pure resiliency, because I didn't have time to recover.
Yeah.
And this was the difficulty.
But at some point, you must have had to give yourself time and space to grieve and feel. Because it sounds like you just went through a number of months of not feeling, in a way, because you couldn't allow yourself to feel, because
Correct.
you had to get through and you had to be strong for other people. But that's not very healthy always, because you're not actually taking care of yourself, and it is going to come out at some point.
Yes.
So
I think once the dust had settled and we were over the worst of it, I took some time off work.
Yeah.
I made a conscious effort to take some time off work. At that time, my mum had recovered. The country was starting to heal, and how do I cope with this? And so I gave myself lots of time, lots of my own time to really think about my dad, to really think about the history that I had with him, the communication, the conversations, going back, and again, having faith in some ways, regardless of what your faith is. And I believe that there's a higher thing. Essentially, having faith that he's in a better place than the suffering that he did helped me along those the recovery periods. Also, what I managed to do is track down the particular person from the hospital that rang me a couple of times to say to me he was doing well. And so I tracked her down, and I had a good hour conversation with her around the circumstances of what the hospital was going through at the time. So I could appreciate, while my dad was communicating to me that he wasn't being looked after well, I saw the hospital's story from their angle. For example, at the time, the particular lady that I spoke to, she was a photographer, hospital photographer. And she had said the nurse manager from the ward had asked her for a favour to ring up loved ones of the patients. And so at the time, there was only one nurse and one doctor looking after 30 or so patients. So it makes sense. So to a certain extent, I can understand. It was difficult.
I mean, good for you trying to see it from their point of view, because it would have been very easy to have gone down a tunnel of anger and bitterness and despair and blame. Because of what happened to your dad. But then when you, as you say, walk in someone else's shoes, look at it from somebody else's angle, it gives you a much better perspective and stops you from going down the angerness, bitterness, blame route, which is ultimately destructive for you more than anybody else.
Exactly that. So, one of the coping mechanisms is to look outside the box. I could go into the mindset of blame and I'm also a great believer in everything happens for a reason. I'm also a great believer that this can't just be the life that we live. There must be something else to an afterlife. So those bits of comfort I could give myself with that mindset. And at the same time, I appreciate over the next few years, I'm sure in many years to come, we will probably find out what really happened in those hospitals during the inquiries that happen. I know there's already been some already, but what has happened has happened.
Got to feel for those doctors and nurses, though.
Of course,
I mean, just doing their best, and
exactly.
how awful must they have felt to see patients die who probably shouldn't have died if only there was more people to help.
So, but again, what can be done about it? It's happened. How do you cope with it afterwards? And I think giving yourself time, reflection time, having some kind of positivity around their life, looking back at their life, what they achieved, the conversations that you had with them, having memories around, enjoying the memories that you had with them is an effective way.
And I don't think we talk about that enough. It's there's a lot of recent research that's been done around nostalgia therapy and remembering remembering the good times, because it helps you feel connected, as you said, in a positive way to that person, rather than just focusing on, the grief.
Yes.
Which obviously there is loss and grief and dark times and aloneness and regret and all sorts of things. So I'm not saying we should minimize that, but it sounds very healthy and positive as well, what you did, to be thinking of, I remember when my dad and I, well, I don't know what you did, play cards or whatever,
yeah, exactly.
Had a bit of fun together.
So I guess how much of our mental health state is in our own minds? It's all in our own minds.
Yeah.
Our perception of unhappiness, depression, and there's different scales for everyone, of course. So I always try and give myself the mindset to be positive, to look at the positive things.
Yeah.
Because if you focus on the negatives, you're always going to be negative.
Yeah.
So reflection, early experiences in life helped me with this particular scenario as well. So the resiliency of moving countries, learning the language, learning how to spell your own name, for example.
Yeah.
Going to losing your best friend and your brother.
Yeah.
And the circumstances that I did, and then going into, and it wasn't just my dad or my father. So it was other people that we, as a family, lost due to COVID. So the trauma went on.
Yeah, sure.
But all of these experiences have made me more resilient. And I think if you can be coached to have the mindset to look at the positives rather than the negatives, then you could almost teach yourself. But and again, my biggest advice to anyone going through this type of bereavement is try and seek help.
Yes.
And so I learned from the early bereavement situations that I went through to the later ones. I learned how to cope with that better because I trained myself.
Yeah.
But if I had other people that could coach me and help me along those lines, having that positive mindset, it would have been much more beneficial.
Yeah.
And easier to cope with.
Yeah. So when we first met, which is just, I think, a few months ago now, at a networking event, you said that because of the experiences you'd gone through with your own mental health and having to cope with these losses, you wanted to give back to society in some way and help others who were going through difficult times. And you specifically said you wanted to help Safe New Futures because of the mental health support that we give people, older people, but young people as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about that, how you're planning to do that?
So, I mean, again, having a positive mindset, I in all the years that I've done technology, from a very young age to my professional life, I've always been into innovation, into the next big thing, looking ahead, always looking ahead. And so one of the ideas, even in the last few years of my leadership in terms of the role that I had at a big law firm, international law firm, was how do I give back to charity? How do I bring different ecosystems together? And so one of the ideas that was going through my head for many years was, okay, what kind of business can I enable that combines the charity sector to a new innovative sector?
Right.
And so I founded a company called Wilson Prize. Yeah. And essentially what that does is through a prize draw on the website, people can donate. They can enter for free, by the way, because that's essential. We need to enable free entry into prize draws, but also they can donate into the prize draw for a particular prize.
Sure.
But a portion of that donation goes into charities for that give back to communities, and this is where my interests in Safe New Futures came. When we met, we had a great conversation around what could be possible. One of the areas, and again looking into the future, and there's been lots of negativity around, for example, the cryptocurrency ecosystem. There's been lots of fraud over the years, and actually what I'm seeing from an international perspective, lots of payment systems are now going into crypto technologies and blockchain technologies. So essentially what the company will do is run prize draws where people can enter for free.
Yeah.
People can donate using normal currency,
Mm-hmm.
but they can also donate using cryptocurrency.
Right.
The platform itself will translate some of that cryptocurrency or all of the cryptocurrency into cash, which we will then share with the charities.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the partnership that we have with yourselves will be really beneficial for both ecosystems.
Yeah.
The crypto community giving back to doing something good, giving to charity, and the charity sector having access to an ecosystem that they never had access to before.
Certainly nothing I would have dreamt of, I've got to say, before I met you.
Yeah, so exciting times. There's lots of plans. I'm building a team together of really good people that are coming together. This is about giving back to the community, building an ecosystem that's transparent, because that's the other thing. You know, my history, my experience is within the legal sector.
Right.
And there is lots of transparency in the legal sector. Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to bring some of those experiences, some of the innovative, forward-thinking experiences, to bring these communities together where we've got transparency from donation to charity to prize winning to lots of good outcomes for all that are involved. So I'm really excited, and hopefully this is going to be good for all of the communities.
Yeah, well, absolutely wish you all the best with that, and delighted that, we might be one of the very
hopefully you'll be
recipients.
the first. You'll be the first. You'll be the first.
Yeah.
And what better than my own personal experiences regarding mental health and some of the great work that you're doing, not only across Hampshire and Surrey, but nationally as well. You know, you're very geared up to really take what you're doing nationally. Yeah. And I think it's a cause really close to my heart.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about this.
Oh,
really excited.
Yeah. We believe we're very scalable. We weren't always. We used to be very much face-to-face based in Southampton.
Sure.
And one of the good things, of course, that came out of the pandemic, it was a very tough time as well for us, trying to keep going. But the good thing that's come out of it is that we are now scalable because we've very much we've discovered how to be effective online and to produce really positive results in terms of confidence and self-esteem, reducing anxiety and depression in people through an online medium.
Yeah.
So that's good has come out of it.
Fantastic.
If we look for the good comes out of it.
Yes.
So yeah.
We want to bring smiles to people's faces. Yeah. That's what we want. We want people to be happy, and I think between us, we could achieve that. Yeah. Hopefully the opportunities there will be great.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for sharing your experience, and
it's been a pleasure.
Talking about difficult things that not everybody's prepared to talk about. So yeah, all the best.
Thank you very much, Nina. Thank you.